Hello Taurus, and welcome to my channel Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements, looking at your recent past, your current energy, and your immediate future, answering the question, what do you need to know right now in order to move forward in alignment with your higher self? Friendly reminder that these are general readings and they are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate fully for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation and to leave what does not. Last thing is that any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right, Taurus, let's jump on in. We're going to start with looking at the overall energy for your past, present, and future through oracle cards. This is my intuitive life coaching deck, which I am absolutely obsessed with this deck. So I'm excited to use it today. And then we'll look at the overall theme, and then we'll dive deeper into the story with tarot as we progress. So let's start. Taurus, looking at what you guys have been going through, what you guys have been dealing with in your recent past. Karma. You may be involved in a situation that requires justice or fairness. Core values, follow your heart and make your values a priority. I kind of feel in this energy, for lack of a better way of putting it, it's kind of this energy of getting screwed over in some way. There's some sort of injustice that took place here in this past energy, and it almost feels like you're due some sort of a karmic balance or karmic like win of some sort, because with this core values, this to me makes me feel like this is the energy of you sticking to yours, sticking to your core values, sticking to, you know, showing up in the best way that you can, and still experiencing kind of some sort of injustice. And I will say, like, one thing that I've learned is if you show up in your life with sticking to, your values, there are going to be times, where you're screwed over, but karma is a very real thing, and it typically always balances out in the end, even if it feels like it's taking forever, or maybe it doesn't happen exactly the way that you expect. But I definitely feel like this is like talking a lot about just justice, finding justice when it comes to a situation. But let's look at this current energy for you, Taurus. Surrender, release and surrender all control. I feel like it's really hard because there's this energy of, then you have angel numbers. Pay attention to the signs. Your angels are trying to deliver a message. I feel like there's this energy of wanting to be like the corrector of something, like being the one that fixes a situation, that delivers karma, delivers justice. And sometimes we just can't. We can't be the person that, makes something that's been done to us like wrong, right. But what we can know is that things always come balancing out in the end, even if it doesn't happen the way that we expect. This angel numbers card is, I feel like your guides are trying to present you with the message of knowing that like you're taken care of and that things are going to end up working out for you, maybe through like 444, 111. It can be any of those numbers, but for me, like 111 and 444, like repeating fours and repeating ones, always seem to really carry the message of like you're being divinely guided, you are divinely supported. And I feel like right now it's like, depending on whatever the situation is, you probably don't have a lot of control over it. So there's kind of a need to let go and allow things to unfold like naturally, knowing that, again, things always balance out in the end. They really, really do. But let's look even further here. What does Taurus need to know moving forward? Whoa. Rejoicing. new door. So you've learned to make the most out of life. New door. Your prayers have been answered, and a new door is being held open for you. And healing with nature. And says your soul yearns to be outside in nature around the healing waters, flowers, and trees. I feel like regardless of things that have been done, that have been like unjust, that have been done to you in an unjust way, I feel like things are going to work out for you in a way that is better than you can even expect. It's almost like this isn't going to hold you back or set you back as much as you think, even if it feels like that's the case right now. Or like, say you got screwed over, for a promotion, or screwed over in a relationship, or whatever the case is. It almost feels a little bit like, and this doesn't justify a situation or mean that you should just be grateful that this happened, but it does definitely feel a little bit like divine protection in some way, almost like you're being led to things that are more aligned with, the level of love that you have to give, with the level of respect that you deserve, like things of that nature. So regardless of what happened, it does feel like things are going to kind of work out for you in the best way here, even if like you're not sure how. And I think that that's why you're needing to surrender, is like you're like, I don't know how this is gonna, how things are gonna work out for me. And it's like, you don't really need to know how. This healing with nature card makes me think that there's a need to kind of like get out of your head, and maybe into your soul a little bit, maybe through nature, whether that's meditating in nature, going for walks outside, just like allowing yourself to kind of sit with the uncomfortable feelings of the not knowing and the, just everything that's coming with this situation, and allow yourself to just, I don't know, like let go of the need to know how everything's going to pan out, because I feel like things are going to pan out in your favor here. Overall theme of this reading for Taurus. Expect powerful change. I do feel like, that's what this future energy feels like. It feels like powerful change in the best way. But I feel like the more that you try to control, the more that you might get in the way of this change. Yeah, and then a fiery climax approaches. So it kind of feels like everything comes to a head. Things that were unfair or unjust, it feels like it kind of all almost like all works itself out in a way that might be very unexpected. It's like, it's unexpected. That's the word. Which is why you're just kind of needing to let go and trust right now, which I know is not easy. Trust me, I know is not easy. But let's look at this even further. Let's go deeper into this energy, looking at what you guys have been dealing with here, Taurus, recent past. That makes sense. There's a lot of frustration in this energy of your recent past, because I feel like it's like in frustration with injustice, I feel like is kind of what I'm seeing here. A lot of anxiety, a lot of fear about some sort of situation, which, I absolutely get. I think that, because there's the Two of Swords. I think that, it kind of, and I use this example sometimes in readings about justice, just because I think that it's the best way to portray it. But something my husband got me really into, like Marvel movies, like superhero movies. And I, like when we first started dating, and now we've watched like every single one. And one of the major themes that I recognize like right out of the gate, especially with a lot of the earlier ones, is that there's always a point in the movie where it looks like the bad guys are winning, where it seems like, the bad guys are going to come out on top. And then it always ends with, most of the time ends with the good guys ending up like prevailing. And I think that I've learned that this is actually something that is very real in like our day and age, especially when it comes to when we're getting screwed over or when people do us wrong. A lot of times it can seem like they get away unscathed, or that, their life is made better because of it, even though our life is made worse because of it. But things always balance out. Everything that is done from a place of hurting others or harming others or selfishness, it's gonna find its way back to the people who have done you wrong, even if it doesn't happen in a way that's within your control. And that's why we have to surrender, is because we can trust that as long as we're kind of like, in the words of Taylor Swift, keeping our side of the street clean, like as long as we're showing up in our core values, doing what we can to, come from a place of love and navigate situations as best we can, we can be expected to receive good things. It's just kind of how it works. It doesn't mean that it like happens the way that you expect. I don't know. I hope this is making sense, because it's like there's so many situations where it's like, bad things do happen to good people. I'm not saying that it doesn't, but I do think that a lot of the time, good things happen more than we tend to think too. And I think that this is about like being due kind of like some good juju, and getting to experience that. But like I said, there's always a period where it just kind of feels like the bad guys are winning. I don't know. That's the best way I could say that. Angel numbers with surrender. Stuck in a cycle. There's a lot of grief and sadness around some sort of situation here. And I think that that's where, and then the Page of Wands, a lot of grief, a lot of feeling very unstable, maybe like unsecure in some sort of way. Maybe this is really threatening like finances or, your relationships in some way. And when that's the case, like there's a natural desire to want to like right the wrong, right? But I think sometimes the best thing that we can do, and I'm not saying that you should just do nothing and just, let it happen to you, but I think that when certain things happen to us and we have no control over the situation, the best thing we can do is surrender over that control and, continue to show up the best way that we can. But it's really difficult because in that period, we are required to have a lot of faith, a lot of trust in the support of the universe, a lot of trust in, the belief that we are deserving of good things and good outcomes. And depending on how we kind of handle those periods typically determines the outcome. So if we're able to really show up believing I'm deserving of things working out for me. Like I know that I show up in the best way that I can, and I am deserving of, I'm deserving of justice. I'm deserving of receiving good things. I'm deserving of the things that I desire, even if certain people are trying to take that away from me or harm me in some way. So it's not always about like getting revenge on the people who hurt you, but sometimes revenge is a life well lived. The best revenge is a life well lived. That's one of my favorite quotes. And I think that I've really learned that, the more that we focus on what's in our power and what's in our control and continue to show up in that way, things with the belief that we're supported. That's the key here. And I feel like that's what this reading is really trying to bring forth for you, is like knowing that you are really supported through this and that the universe does really have your back through this. And then I think that if you can lean on that support and open yourself up to that guidance, that you're going to find yourself in a better place than you might think. What does Taurus need to know moving forward? It's hard to release control, though, especially when there's so much frustration around, like, things that aren't, fair. And I think that that's where it's like we can show up, we can do what we can, and we have to give the rest over. We have to give the rest over to the universe and trust that things are being taken care of. Rejoicing with new door. What does Taurus need to know moving forward? Stepping into your power here. The Emperor with the Two of Wands. Our power doesn't lie in controlling what happens to us or controlling other people or getting people to see that they hurt us or getting people to apologize. That's not what our power is. Our power is about how we respond to the things that happen to us. And for me, like, I've learned that your co-creation of your reality is 100% dependent on your response and how you show up, especially when things aren't going your way. And I think that that's where things get really hard, because when things aren't going your way, that's where the fear arises, the insecurity, the doubt. And a lot of times in those moments, we might act from that fear. We might act from that insecurity, act from that doubt, and actually make things worse or set ourselves back even more. Even though that's a completely natural response, we sometimes have to be willing to kind of take a step back and say, okay, what's in my power? What's in my control? What's not? You know, what can I give over to the universe? But then what can I focus on? What can I do to show up in the best way possible for me to create a better situation or a better outcome, or transmute this negative thing into something positive? And really focus on that, because the more that we do that, the more we align with good things. When we're so focused and so caught up in the negativity of what a situation brings us, and we try to control it, and we try to control the person, and we try to fight with, them and argue with them, and, spew into all of that, that a lot of times actually negatively impacts you more, because your focus is more on getting caught up in what's out of your control. So the best thing that we can do in any situation, show up in our power, show up focusing on what's in our control and committing to that, committing to ourselves, committing to our values, committing to showing up, like I said, in that power. Then we create things. At the end of the day, things end up better than you think. I'm bringing up Taylor Swift a lot. If you've watched my channel before, you know that I'm a fan of her, but mainly because of her lyricism. And one of the lyrics that I really like by her is, your enemies will defeat themselves before you get the chance to swing. So much of the time we have this desire to really take down or get back at the people who hurt us, or to watch them, experience negative situations because of the things they did to us. But the more that we play into that, the less power and control we have, right? Because that doesn't make our life better. Our life becomes better whenever we're able to step out of a situation and be happy and abundant and successful, regardless of a person or a situation. And that's where I really learned that when we're so focused on being the deliverer of karma, if you will, we might find ourselves actually holding ourselves back from creating a happier, more abundant life or situation for ourselves. And knowing that, I think that what this is really also saying is this is going to lead you to more power and more control than you even had before, but there's a need to let go of that control to receive it. So that letting go and that surrendering is really important for you right now. But I do really feel like things are gonna work out in your favor here. But the number one thing that you're needing to know is, showing up, focusing on what is within your control, and letting go of the rest. All right, I'm going to hop on over to the extended. We're going to dive deeper into this, looking at what you need to do right now in order to move forward in alignment with your higher self. So diving deeper into this and looking at the tangible advice. And then I have an advice card to pull from your spiritual team at the very end. Thank you so much, Taurus, as always, for your support of my channel. I do obviously hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things that you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Taurus.